So welcome everyone to this channel named Gaurav Kumar Jain, and today in this tutorial we are going to develop this view in the app lab on code.org. So as you can see, it's a kind of chat box. Some chat messages are visible to us over here in these boxes, right? And this is what we are going to design today in the app lab, in the web lab, sorry, using the basic HTML and CSS coding. So let's go on that code.org environment, and there are some students who don't know how to access Weblab. So let me help you with that. What you can do when you will open your code.org platform, when you access the code.org platform with your respective credentials, login credentials, this is the page you're going to come across. Now what you have to do, you have to come right on the top over here, and when you will hit this create option, so this is a cascading menu you are going to come across. Now Weblab is not visible to us over here in this menu, right? So what you can do, you can hit this view all projects option, and right after that when you will come down over here on this page, so you will be able to see this view full list button getting reflected on this page right below this game lab option. Just hit this option to see all the labs which are there on this code.org platform, and here you will be able to see this web lab option also. Let's hit this web lab, and automatically this is the environment you are going to come across. So by default you will be able to see some lines of code written over here in this workspace. Okay, and there is one CSS style sheet also, which is by default you will be able to see in this section of this environment. Okay, then we have this stage over here. Whatever you're going to put here, the output you will be able to see of that particular code getting reflected over here in this white space, which we we call it as stage area. Okay, now we have to design this thing over here. The first thing that is getting reflected on this window is this chat messages. Alright, so it's a kind of you can say heading for these boxes over here. Now how can we get this thing over here on the stage area? So what we can do, we can make use of this header tag h1, and let's write down chat message inside this h1 tag. Okay, so as you can see, chat message is getting reflected over here. Now the font size of this chat message is quite big as in comparison to this one. How can we control it? We can reduce it to h2. Let's see what is going to happen. Okay, so now it is exactly the way this chat message is getting reflected over here. Right, so it is perfectly fine. Let's now define the code for this box over here. Now there are 4 boxes which I'm able to see on this window. So what we can do, we can make use of division tag, and inside the division tags we can define the code for these blocks. So we are going to have a separate division box for every message box which is getting reflected over here on this web page. So we can start with defining a division tag over here like this. So this first one is going to be for the first box, okay, for this one. Now let's define another division. So this is going to be for the second message box. Okay, fine. So for now I am going to use only 2 divisions for these 2 input boxes, for these 2 message boxes over here, and once I'm done with defining the required code, I am going to create the duplicate of this these divisions over here. Fine. Okay, now in this first division tag we have an image. Okay, we have an image, and we have a text also getting reflected just next to this image. Now what we can do, we can first add two images to this HTML document. For doing that, we need to first import the images on this Weblab environment. So what you can do, you can hit this add image option and automatically it is going to redirect you on this manage assets part. Now let's hit this upload file button and upload the two required images. So I'm going to go on my desktop and I'm going to select this one, and let's select one more image. This time I am going to select this image. Okay, so the name of this first image is ankit.jpg and the name of the second image is gaurav.jpg. Now in this first box, Gaurav's image is getting reflected, right? How can we... Now what is a tag that we can make use of for getting that image over here on this stage area? So img is the tag which you can make use of for accessing any image, and then you can define the source of that image. Now what is the name of the image? It is gaurav.jpg, which I would like to access in the first chat box. So that's how you can do it using this src attribute. Src stands for source. Okay, then if suppose the image is not accessible due to some or the other reason, so if you want to get some text reflected as an alternative to this image, so we can make use of this alt attribute in order to do the same. So this is the text which is going to get reflected. Gaurav's message. Okay, in case the image is not accessible on this web page. Okay, now after this let's define some style also for this image. So I would like it to cover the entire width. So this is one of the ways we can style this image tag. We can make use of this style keyword and then we can place an equal to sign. Now what is a property we want to play with? We would like to play with the width of the image. So that's how we can do it, and then we can place a colon and pass this value for the width property of this image. Okay, so as you can see, this image is now visible to us over here and it is covering this entire width. Why? Because we have defined 100% over here. Okay, and if you'll change it to, let's say, 20, so this is what you're going to see. But I would like it to cover the entire page, so that is the reason I am keeping it as 100% only for now. Besides this, we have a text also which is getting reflected right next to this image. Now how can we get this kind of text reflected in this box? So for that we can have we can make use of paragraph tag. What is the text? So I'm copying this text from here and I am going to put it inside these paragraph tags like this. Okay, and then we have this time also, right? So for this time we can make use of this attribute span. Fine, and the first one is in the first box 11 is getting reflected, so that's how we can define the values for the message part using this paragraph tags and the timing part using this span tag. Fine, so okay, so I'm done with defining the code, defining the required code for this first box. All the elements which are there present in this first box are visible to us over here on this stage area, right? This photo is visible to us over here, and then we have this text also present right in the bottom, and this time is also getting reflected over here. Now what I'm going to do, instead of defining this whole thing again inside this division tag for this second box, let's eliminate this from here and copy this whole thing and put it over here like this. Okay, or else what we can do, we can eliminate this first from here. Let's first style these tags which we have defined inside this first division, and after that we can make use of the same code for getting this second input box, or you can say chat box. So now for styling these attributes over here, the first thing that we need to do is we need to define a specific class for this division section. So I'm defining container class, okay, for this first division section. And then we can come on this style.css file and let's eliminate everything whatever is getting reflected inside this file over here. Okay, so now there is nothing present inside this style.css file. Let's now first style the body section. So I would like the margin to be 0. This is the first thing that I would like to do. Besides, let's pass auto also for this margin property. Fine. And maximum width, I would like the body to cover is of, let's say, 100 pixels. So I would like the body to cover this much space of this entire window. So as you can see, this is approximately 100 pixels which these boxes are covering right now. That's how you can bring it in the center, right? Okay, let's come back on this coding area. Now let's define something for the padding part also. So I would like to have a padding of 0 by 20 pixels. Okay, so this is what you're going to, this is the kind of look you're going to get with the CSS code that you have defined for this body part. Now let's customize the look of the container class. So that's how we can access the container class elements. We just have to put the name of the class, and we need to put this dot also before the name of the class to access all the tags which are present inside this class named container. Okay, now what are the different things we would like to define? So the first thing that I would like to define is a border. I would like to have a border of 2 pixel, and it should be a solid border. And how can I check out the color of this box? Now that is an issue. I don't know the code of this box over here. What we can do, we can open the code.org environment and let's make use of the color picker tool, which you can easily get in the GameLab environment on this code.org platform. So I'm going to open this GameLab environment, and here you need to come on this animation workspace. Fine, and let's take a snapshot of that web page. So just by hitting the print screen button which is there on your desktop, you can take a snapshot of this web page, and here you need to hit this new animation tab, and after that you can make use of this draw your own option. So automatically this is a blank frame you are going to come across. Now here you can paste that copied image. For pasting that copied image, you just have to press Ctrl and V together, and automatically you will get to see that image over here on this blank frame like this. Okay, now if you want to know the border color of this first box, you can come over here on this color picker tool, select it by hitting this tool, and then you can hit this border over here. So now when you'll hit this window, this is the code you are going to come across. Now this is the code for this borders color over here. Just copy this whole code by pressing Ctrl and C together and paste it over here just next to this solid value. Okay, now as you can see, we have a gray color border for this entire thing, for this image, for this text also, right? Okay, let's now define a background color for this box. So how can we find the background color of this first box? We need to select the color picker tool, and after that we can hit this box to check its code. So this is the color code for this color which is getting reflected in the background of this box. Now you have to copy this code and paste it over here like this. Okay, so as you can see, the background color of this box has now changed. It is now somewhat gray. Okay, let's now define some border radius. Why we need to define the border radius? If you want to get some round borders like this, so this property you can make use of for getting the desired output. So this time I am going to pass 5 pixels for this border radius property, and then we need to have some padding also. So padding is for defining some space in between these borders and the content which is present inside this box. Alright, so I would like to define a padding of 10 pixels, and then we can have a margin also. So margin is for defining the space in between this component and the outside component or the neighboring components, you can see. So let's define this value 10 pixels by 0. Fine. So I'm done with defining the required code for this first box. Okay. Fine. Now let's customize the view of this image over here. I don't want it to cover this much space of this first box. Okay, it is coming like this over here, right? So we can customize the view of this image by we need to first access this image. Now this image is falling. It is inside this container class, and we have made use of this img tag, okay, for accessing this image which is getting reflected over here on the stage area. Now how can we change its appearance? How can we access it? So you can write down the name of the class first in which the image is present, and for accessing that img attribute, img tag, sorry, you just have to write down the name of that tag over here. Fine. So that's how you can select any tag which is present inside a particular class. Now you can play with the values, you can play with the properties of this image. So the first property that I would like to play with is float. If this image in this first box is floating in the left side, so in order to bring it in the left side, we need to pass this value left for this float property. Okay, then we have this maximum width. So I would like to reduce it down to 60 pixels. So as you can see, the view has now got entirely changed. Fine, it is now completely changed. Now it's a kind of rectangle in which this image is getting reflected, but I would like to see it so I would like to see a circle kind of thing, okay, for this image. Now how can we convert this rectangle into a circle? Using the border radius property, of course. So border radius property is the one which you can make use of. Now in order to get a perfect circle, you can pass this value 50% for the border radius. Let's refresh this code, and this is what now you are going to see over here on this stage area. Fine. Let's now customize it further. So we need to come down and then let's define some margin in the right side. So I would like to have a space in between this image and this text over here. Let's say space of 20 pixel. I think it will definitely give us the correct output. Let's refresh this window over here. Yes, so we are getting the desired output over here. Fine. Is there anything else we need to change over here? Let's check it out. So float, it is floating right now in the left side. Then we have this maximum width 60 pixel and let's define some width also. I would like it to cover the entire width, so that is the reason 100% I'm defining. So whenever you're going to access it, whether on your desktop or on your mobile, it is going to cover the entire 100% width. Fine. Okay, so we are done with defining the required code for customizing this image over here. Now let's go back on that HTML document and define the required code for this second box over here. But before that we are still left, I think, with one thing. This 11 is getting reflected over here, right, in the right side. So how can we push it in the right side? That's what we have to think about. So let's come on this HTML document, and here for customizing the look of this 11, we can define a class for this span tag. So let's do that quickly, because it is getting reflected in the right side for this what we call it, the second message box. The time is getting reflected in the left side. So for this one I am going to name this class as time left. Okay, and for this one I am going to make use of time right. Fine. Let's come back on this style.css sheet and define the required code for styling this time over here. So how can we access this span, or you can say this text? That's what we have to see first. So with the help of this class, definitely we can do it. We just have to copy the name of the class and place it over here like this, and just before this class name we need to put a dot. Okay, so this is a syntax you need to keep in mind whenever you are accessing any class on using some CSS on the CSS sheet. Okay, now we want this time to float on the right side of this window. So for making it float on the right side, we can make use of this float property, and let's define right for this. Okay, so it is going to go on this right side. And besides this, if you want to change the color, because right now the color of this 11 is black. So what we can do, we can come back on this GameLab environment. Let's make use of this color picker tool and find out the color code of this color. Okay, so this is the color code of this times color. Let's make use of this property color and paste the copied code. So now this time is going to get reflected exactly in the same color in which it is visible to us, in which it is getting reflected on this original web page, right? So this is how you can make use of color picker tool. Let's go back on this HTML document and define the code for this second input box. But before this, I would like to customize this box further. Now the only thing which is looking odd to me is the way this 11 is getting reflected on this message box. So it is coming out of this box, right? how can we put it, how can we make it appear, how can we put it inside the box? That's what we have to see. So for that we can make use of this style.css sheet, and let's now customize the view of this time over here in such a way that we can see it in getting reflected inside this box. Now the name of this the name of the class in which all these attributes are there is container. So if you want to, you know, create some pseudo elements just after this container class, so you can make use of this after property. Okay, now after this container I would like to define some content, but because there is no content besides these three things, we don't have anything else inside this box. So what we can do, we can just pass a null value for this content part. And what else do we need to do? We need to clear all the things. So we can pass this clear, we can pass this value both for this clear property, and then the kind of display you would like to have. So I would like to have a table kind of display, right? Let's now refresh this page and see what are the changes this page is going to reflect. So as you can see now, this 11 is getting reflected inside this box. It is coming inside this box. It is not coming on the border the way it was coming earlier. Okay, so that's how you can make use of this property after. It is used for creating some pseudo elements, okay, for a particular element or for a particular class, you can see. So these are some of the properties you need to remember if you're working with such properties: content, then clear, then display. Okay, so we wanted a table like structure, so that is the reason I passed this table as a value for this display property. Let's now go back on this HTML file and define the required code for this second message box. So this time I am going to copy this whole code from here and I am pasting it right below this division tag. Okay, now what are the different changes I need to make for getting this kind of message box? So as you can see, the difference is in between the background color. The background color of this one is completely different from the one which we are able to see in this first message box. Then this image is floating in the left side in this message box. Fine, and then this time has to come over here. This message needs to come over here in the left side. Right, now how can we get this kind of view? That's what we have to think. So what we can do, besides this container, we can define one more class for this division tag. Now how can you define more than one class for a particular tag? What you can do, you can give a space, and after that you can write down the name of the other class. Whatever class you want to define for this division tag, you can write it down like this. Okay, so now this division tag have two classes. One is with name container and the second one is with name darker. Okay, and let's now change the pic. So I would like to see Ankit's pic getting reflected over here. So as you can see, we are able to see now the Ankit's pic getting reflected over here. Right, and let's change this alternative text. So I'm changing it to Ankit's message. Fine, and style width is going to remain this 100% only. I'm not going to make any kind of changes over here. We need to change the text also, which is there in between these two paragraph tags, and we need to change the time also. So the time we need to change it to 11:1. I'm done with changing the time, and we need to change the class for this time part. So for this white message box, we have this time left class for this span tag, and for this gray one we are going to have time right. Okay, let's now go on this style.css sheet and define the required code so as to get this desired view for this second message box. So the first thing that we need to do is, how can we access all the elements which are falling under this second division tag? So we can make use of this second class named darker. Here I'm going to put darker like this. Okay, now inside this, the first thing we need to change is the background color. Background color. Okay, now whatever I will define here, it is going to come over the background color which I have defined for this container class. Okay, so behind the background color is going to be this, but on this background color I would like to have this color. So how can we get the code of this color? We can make use of this color picker tool. Let's hit this message box over here. So this is the code which we guys can make use of. Let's go back on this code.org platform here, and here I'm going to paste that copied code. So now when you refresh this window, you will be able to see the desired output getting reflected on the stage area. Alright, now besides this, let's change the border color also. So we can make use of border color property. What is the idea of this? What is the color code of this border color? Let's check it out. So this is the color code of this border color. Okay, so as you can see, this border color has now changed. It's now a little darkish. Okay, it's dark gray over here, and for this we have light gray, right? Okay, now we need to see this photograph over here, floating here in this right side of this message box. How can we do that? So the best way is to first access this class. Okay, so we don't have any class for this image tag, right, which we have inside this second division tag. Now what we can do for accessing this image tag, can we do it like this? Let's make use of the second class, that is darker, and let's now, using this code, I think we'll be able to access this image tag over here, which we have defined inside this class named darker. Okay, let's now customize the view of this image. So I would like to see it floating in the right side. I think this is going to help us. Yes, so now we are able to see it floating in the right side of this message box. Okay, what else I require? I want to have some margin left also for this. Let's make use of this value 20 pixel, and margin right, I don't want to see any kind of space on the right side, so that's why I'm passing 0 for this margin right property. So as you can see, now the way it is getting reflected over here on this original web page, in the same way it is visible to us getting reflected on this stage area also, right? Okay, the last thing that we need to define the code for is this time right class. So I would like to see this time getting reflected in the right side, the way it is reflecting. So just to fix it, we can make use of this float, and let's make use of this left property. Okay, and after this we can pass a color. what is the color code we need to make use of for this time over here? Where is that color code? Yeah, this is the one. So I'm copying it from here and I'm going to paste it over here. Fine. So as you can see, this text, the color text of the text, the color of the text has got changed now of this time, right? So we are done with customizing both these message boxes. Now how can we get more than 2 message boxes the way we are able to see over here on this window? So the only thing that we have to do is we can copy these two division sections and we can paste it like this over here. If you want to see some more input boxes, you can again copy these two division boxes and you can paste them over here. So this is the kind of output you are going to get now on your respective device. Right, that's how you can create chat message boxes using basic HTML and CSS coding. Hope you guys enjoyed this lecture a lot. Do like and share this video in your group so that more and more students can come and join the channel and learn to code free of cost. Thank you very much for joining me in this lecture and have a great day. Bye bye.